Hi, hope you're doing well. On October 21st, 2025, we're going to have a new moon, and it's going to be happening at 28 degrees Libra. And looking at this new moon, it's pretty impactful and powerful. Not only do we have definition, which usually makes things a little bit more striking, especially to the collective, although of course it can always also be personal. We do have the defined root and sacral, and it is through the 360 channel, which is hugely mutative. But we also have energy for unity that looks pretty promising. So if we look at Pluto and it's in its final sort of countdown in gate 60 line 6, and it's moving on into the abyss, and we will not see it in our lifetime because it will be out of gate 60 for 248 years after December 2025. So this is the final countdown. You can't get any more final than what's happening right now. And it's hugely impactful because we also have the Earth in gate 3, line 3, which gives us the full 360 channel, the channel of mutation. Now remember, gate 60, line 6 is one of those energies that is extremely powerful. It's something that creates a mutation like no other mutation, you could say. But nothing happens with gate 60 unless it has gate 3. And now we have gate 60 and gate 3. Now think about gate 3 is being activated by the earth. Now this is manifestation. This is bringing our dreams and our ideas, innovations into manifestation. So this looks like something profound, something huge, a mutation that we've never experienced in our lifetime or maybe even generations before us. It's something that's big. Now, will it show up on the day of the new moon? Probably not. But it could be a big discovery that's announced sort of within days after the new moon, or it could be something that we see slowly unfold as we move forward, because that's the way mutation works. It doesn't just come, in one sitting. It's something that slowly unfolds, especially with Pluto. Now, with Mars and Mercury in gate 43, this really does talk about this technological or, again, very innovative energy, very before its time kind of energy. If I was to make a guess, I would say it'd be like getting energy in a way that we never got it before, or finding the God particle, or something hugely profound that just kind of shifts the whole collective in a very impactful way. And the only fly in the ointment you could say is that we do have Mars and Mercury in gate 43. Gate 43 is half of the 4323 channel. Now, the gate 23, which is the other side of it, where we give voice to the mutative ideas and it can create a breakthrough, is also called the gate of amorality. So, in other words, the only fly in the ointment may be then that it may not be exactly what we want. Is it something about AI that becomes almost too much of a good thing and gets out of control or something like that? But let's sit with the potential of something very profound and exciting happening for evolution and for humanity. So that's one important thing that shows up as a global event, or a global energy that is giving us something huge potentially. It could even be children who are born with something very evolutionary within their being that comes out of nowhere, that they have special things that we've never seen before, special things that can aid them in life, in the new global cycle in 2027. There's always that potential because 360 is very connected to the global cycle shift. So that is really interesting. And the other reason why I said there might be a bit of a fly in the ointment is because gate 3.3 is in detriment, and meaning that instead of wanting to move forward with something new and revolutionary, the growth is stymied or it stops. So in other words, something new that kind of defies the laws of nature. I think this happened years ago, long before there were electric cars. I think somebody said that, now this could be urban myth, but somebody said that there was a electric car long before they actually came into where we can buy them in the stores now, and it was well before its time, but the oil companies didn't want it to happen, and so they buried it. But what actually does happen in that perspective is that it will eventually come back out. And it did. And this is, we all have and this is what's happening, as we speak right now. And for several years before that, this electric car did come back. But there are still people who are trying to make that go away too. We see that happening on the global stage. But at the end of the day, is evolution will continue to move forward despite what humans try to do or don't do. But that is sort of what I'm looking at. And we do have the sun and moon in gate 50 line 3, and this is in exaltation. And what this really talks about is this concept. It is tribal energy. It's a gate of rules, regulations, laws. It's a gate of values. And when you bring it into the third line and it's an exaltation, what we're talking about is this idea of having common values, but understanding that one voice is very quiet, but where you have a lot of voices, it becomes loud and it pushes through the noise of what's happening in the collective. What this basically says is that we have people starting to understand that the division that we have seen potentially is not of any value. In fact, it gives the powers that be even more power over the regular folk. So instead, this is where people are starting to say, well, the only way our voice will be heard is if we come together as opposed to just individual voices talking. And yes, there have been people who have sort of come together and had groups and this types of things, but this really feels like a much bigger event, a much bigger coming together. And it also feels like people who may not have always seen eye to eye, understanding that beneath it all, we're all human and that we all have basically the same types of ideas of what we want for our lives. It doesn't matter where we come from, what we look like, or, how we were brought up. It's really about this idea that we all want to have food on the table, a roof over our heads, and, a place to call our own, and a bit of money that we have in case there's an emergency. I mean, I think that that is one of the common things that most people want, that bit of security. Now, of course, not everybody likes that. There are people who live a nomadic style of life, and that's perfectly fine too. But I think that is a common thread, especially with the cross of planning, the global cross of planning, that a lot of people feel. And so you look at this as a commonality as opposed to what we don't agree on. And then we have this cohesiveness that comes in a way where it is so powerful that it's unstoppable. And then on top of that, we also have the nodes moving into the first line. Now, this does bring an environment of fear, but it also brings an environment of intelligence where we're learning to see what are we scared of and how can we make ourselves less scared of that and how can we fix that problem. So as much as it is about this level of fear, it is also always going to be a level of awareness. And it's also this concept with Venus in gate 48 line 1, where you are looking at people who are the leaders, who are the unlikely leaders, unexpected heroes, you could say. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a hero, but it is somebody who has quietly been doing what they do, their thing that they do, whatever it is, and they sit on their own and they gather the details and they come up with solutions, and they have a lot of experience. They have a lot of ideas. They have a lot of things that they've been working on. This is what you call an expert who doesn't really let everybody know they're an expert. This is a true leader, a true expert, somebody who knows exactly what they're doing. What we see right now, and especially with the nodes having gone in gate 22 line 2 for a long time, the north node, is this concept of, I talked about this before, of this style over substance. Instead of actually seeing that it isn't style, it is substance. It is the person who may not look like they know much, but who actually knows a lot. They might not dress the part. They may not look a certain way or what we expect them to look like, but yet they have so much to offer. And suddenly we're looking at these people and we're saying, wow, this person actually knows what they're talking about. Jupiter in gate 62 line 4, somebody who has carefully been moving through their process, learning what they need to learn, becoming an expert in what they know, and just quietly doing their thing. And then suddenly they're brought to the front because they are somebody who knows what needs to be done. They are somebody who knows what we need to move forward, to change, to do whatever we're trying to do in our lives or in the world alone. And this is kind of pushing back on the celebrity, the influencer, the people who are given credibility just because they have money, they have uh, they have money, they have visibility, they have that kind of ambiance, they're born into the right family. And suddenly we're looking at somebody who is just a regular person rising to the top because they actually have what the world needs right now. And that really sounds like a positive thing to sort of unfold in the world right now, because I think that this is where we're at right now. There's this celebrity culture, this feeling that people on TikTok know more than other people. I mean, some of the people who really feel like they know, what they're doing. I mean, I saw somebody talking the other day that said, "Oh, we don't give our children Tylenol. We would never give them Tylenol, all the dyes and everything. But what we do have if they have a fever is acetaminophen." And that to me just shows you that anybody who's following this person, who believes this person, is really being led astray. They have no idea what they're talking about. And this is the kind of information that a lot of people are following because they have an influencer who has tons of people who follow them, instead of being somebody who is quietly doing their craft, who knows a lot. And finally, we're getting the information we actually need, the important things, instead of blowhards and celebrity culture and they know something, or they're an influencer and they know this. We're suddenly getting somebody who's actually an expert, who knows what they're doing, who's standing in front of everybody and saying, okay, this is how we need to move forward. Then you have the cohesion of gate 50, line 3, everybody coming together for some level of unity and a common cause. And you have a lot of power in shifting something. Now, this doesn't mean it's going to shift exactly on the time of the new moon, or even, any time within that. But what I've noticed with these moon imprints is that this is energy that is in the collective. It is sort of waiting to be brought into the world. And I think the faster it becomes part of the collective energy, is the faster we start to believe that it can happen, and to put our intention into this idea that yes, maybe we do have these leaders who are coming to the forefront. And I think that just that power of believing that something might be true, it opens us up in a very strategic way where we're suddenly seeing people in a different way. So it's not necessarily a magical thing, as opposed to looking at being very clear on what you want and looking and discovering it when you see it, as opposed to just not seeing it because you're just too wrapped up in not really knowing what's happening. So it's like bringing this power of intention. I don't mean it like the law of attraction, although, a lot of people follow that. It's more of this law of being aware. And by having awareness, you are seeing what you need to see. And that's very human design like too. We're seeing what we need to see. We're we are seeing what we need to see based on being aligned with our truth and being aligned with our trajectory ahead. And so when that happens, then we can see those people who are the people that should be in the front to help out, to help lead. And that could be anybody. It doesn't matter. And that's the best part of it. Anybody can be a leader when we pull away all this wealth, prestige, who influencer, celebrity type of style individual. And suddenly we see somebody who has value because they actually have what we all need. Now, another message with the Earth in Gate 3, line 3, is a personal message. And this is basically, especially since we have this as a generator, the new moon is like the definition of a generator type. And so what this is basically saying is being able to see what is fertile and what isn't fertile. In other words, this is saying, where should I put my energy and where is it a waste of my energy? And in detriment, we're still continuing to pour energy into something because we've gone this far, so we may as well keep doing it. But what this is basically saying is that if you have a feeling that where you're putting your energy is not going to give you the results that you want, and you know this because maybe it's been a voice in your head for a while, or it's been that niggle in you for a while, and finally you say, okay, this is basically not giving me what I wanted to give me, and so maybe it's time to cut my losses and get out. But there's always this idea, oh my goodness, I'm quitting, but when we have this as a signature, the generator type signature, we know that generators are meant to quit when it's quitting time. They're not supposed to quit all the time. It's not like that, but it is like generators are the energy type that when it's time to quit, when you don't feel like it's giving you what you want, you're not satisfied with it anymore. It's not that you're frustrated because you're not moving ahead. It's that you're not satisfied. Then you quit. So in that way, quitting is an empowering moment as opposed to a failure because you know that it's no longer serving you. You no longer feel satisfied with it and you let go, and that's okay. That is with what the Earth and Gate 3 Line 3 can talk about as well. The last thing that's really impactful is that we have Saturn in gate 36 line 4, and this is the energy of espionage, which I love this gate. It's pretty interesting. Saturn will go back into this energy because it's retrograding. It'll go right to gate 36 line 3, and then it will start to move forward. And in December, from December 16th to January 3rd, 2026, we're going to have Saturn take its last pass in gate 36 line 4. Last time Saturn was in gate 36 line 4, it was from April 10th to April 17th, 2025. So whatever was happening in your life right then, you might be able to use the tools that you learned or the experience that you had to move forward as Saturn returns to that energy again for this new moon and also for December and on. So there's that perspective. But then if we look at Signal Gate as that's when there was like some leaked military information that went to a reporter that happened in March. At that particular time, we had the sun in gate 36, line 4. And so, in other words, that is going to be a spot where when we have something like Saturn touching it again, then that can bring those types of energies back into the forefront. But again, with that moment, we had the sun in gate 36 and we had the earth in gate 6. And ultimately, the gate 6 is always going to be about conflict, military wars, those types of things. And that's exactly what it was about. But again, this could be leaked information. So, how that plays out, we don't know. Could it be military? Maybe. But it could also be something that is big information that we are very surprised to hear on a global stage. Personally, again, it could be information that can help you to move forward when we have Saturn's final move through gate 36 in December to January. But again, it could also be just tools that you're using from your past experience when Saturn was in gate 36 line 4, or the nodes were in gate 36 line 4, or the sun, and using that information to move through whatever comes in your path as you go forward. So it is really impactful, but it's also a time to be very open and aware because there might be some really important information that you'll find that can help you in the future. And again, it could be about spies and things that are covert coming to the forefront. And we might see that on the world stage, especially with Saturn, because it is karmic in nature. If it doesn't happen this time, I would be, it may happen in December, but I have a feeling that we might see something show up in the trajectory because there is a new moon, which is opening up something brand new. You could say opening up a can of worms of some kind and seeing that play out in a way where we're very surprised at how it's actually playing out in the collective. But yes, this feels like a very impactful moment and a very impactful new moon. What I see from it, it feels like a positive energy where we have an opportunity to find some common ground with other people, to form a coalition of people who actually have the same values or the same things that we want for our lives. They may not look exactly the same as us. They might not talk exactly the same as us. They may not believe everything we believe, but yet there's a thread that holds us together in a way where it aligns us with a common purpose. And I love that. I think that's a really wonderful energy to hopefully play out in this new moon and going forward into the future. And with that said, I do hope you have a wonderful new moon. And until next time, take care and bye for now.